Good evening and welcome to Views with Joyce Waddell. Thank you for joining us this evening. We have a very interesting and enlightening as well as informative show for you this evening. We're going to be talking with the Reverend Dr. Robinson, Reverend Dr. Harold Robinson, as we talk about visits from the motherland, African American history. Because as you know, February this month is African American History Month. So he's going to be sharing some things that he's collected from his collection. We're very fortunate to have him. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, you've collected many things from Africa.
Yes, my total collection includes about 900 items, not only from South Africa, but West Africa and an African American collection. And specifically, the Nelson Mandela collection includes 90 items relating to the South Africa, New South Africa.
Now you have a bust here, as we see here sitting on top of our counter, of Nelson Mandela. That's him as a young man, isn't it?
Actually, it was struck in South Africa shortly after his inaugural as president. So it's actually fairly recent.
Okay, he's no longer president.
He's no longer president. The current president is Thabo Mbeki.
Now, during these travels, did you work there or did you just go as a visitor?
Well, years ago I went as a visitor to Zimbabwe, which borders on the tip of South Africa. But most recently I went as a missionary for the AME Zion Church.
So you've gone there over 30 years, like once a year, stayed 2 or 3 years at a time?
No, actually I stayed 4 years without a break. So I was there from the date that he was inaugurated as president until 1996.
Now you've had this exhibit, and I saw it in the library, and I said, this is such a wonderful collection. I'd love for him to share this with our viewing audience. You've had it in the library at Batesford Road for more than 3 months, haven't you?
Yes, I had the total collection there, yes.
Of all of the things. Well, how do you keep up with so many things? Do you catalog them?
I only recently, yes.
I know you've been sought after by schools and colleges and social groups as well as intellectual groups to come and talk about your collection.
I do perhaps 6 lectures or presentations per month. Now, in the month of February, it's twice as many, almost every other day.
So are you training someone else to do what you do?
No, I have not. I haven't considered that. Yeah.
If we just reach over there and hand me that bust for a moment.
Yes, of course.
And let's get a little close up on it. And let's mention a little about Nelson Mandela. Are you surprised when sometimes you go to schools and children don't know the story?
Well, the most amazing thing about Nelson Mandela, having spent 27 years in prison in Robben Island, and immediately coming out of prison and running for the office, being nominated for the office of president in South Africa and winning the election, and not having a race war where the entire world had anticipated that South Africa would have a race war.
When he was elected.
When he was elected. But instead, he embraced his former enemies, and they had a rainbow coalition. And the new government was referred to as a rainbow coalition. In fact, the South African flag reflects the rainbow coalition.
Does each of the colors stand for a particular thing? The green is for the money?
No, not necessarily. The colors just reflect the diversity in South Africa. South Africa has 11 official ethnic groups and perhaps a half dozen unofficial groups. Now, the official groups are the Afrikaners, which is the largest group of Europeans, or actually they're Native Africans, because they discovered Africa in the 16th century. The second largest group is the Zulus, which I wanted to focus on today.
They live in South Africa.
They live in South Africa. That's the largest group of black Africans, are the Zulus. Nelson Mandela's a Xhosa. And the most famous Xhosa that in our memory is Miriam Akiba. She gave us the click song back in the 60s and 70s. Pata Pata.
That married Stokely Carmichael.
Yes, that's the same one. Well, she was a Xhosa, and the Xhosa speak with a click, and that's what made the song famous.
Well, you brought some interesting. We all often talk about Kente cloth, and we think about Kente cloth. We usually think about the yellow and the black woven cloth, but you have here a beautiful piece of. Is this a?
Well, Joyce, let me just show this in the camera. What's unique about Kente cloth? It's indigenous to West Africa, to Ghana. And it doesn't only come in yellow and black, it comes in their different shades.
And this is Kente cloth.
And this is original Kente cloth.
And it's very different because you have your fibers here that are free flowing.
Yes.
And is this handmade?
It's handmade, and the skill has been in West Africa for
handmade
hundreds
with the loom.
Yes, yes. For hundreds of years. Now, there are other kinds of Kente cloth which we're more accustomed to.
This is the kind we see. This is what we see
This is generally what we see when,
in the United States.
When we refer to Kente cloth.
Is this hand woven too with the loom?
Yes, it is.
Now, if you purchase something like this in Africa, how much would it cost?
It's hard to say because I paid for it in
American money
and local currency.
Would it be $10?
Well, it depends because when we sell authentic Kente cloth here, we add a few dollars to it.
It costs about $100 here.
I would put it this way: it's less expensive in Africa.
What is it that lets you know that it's original Kente cloth?
Well, it's woven in one piece, and the quality of it. Once you feel the quality of it, you know immediately that it's authentic, as opposed to commercial Kente cloth.
With the dye, the colors dyed.
Which is dye-colored, and you can feel the difference in the quality of it.
Because each one of these fabric, you have the threads that are woven here. And that's another kind of Kente.
This is another type of Kente cloth.
Now, is that worn by a particular tribe?
Not necessarily. They're mostly for commercial use. This is part of the marketing
of Africans.
in Africa. This is.
This is how the people make their money.
Yes.
They market it to people.
They market it to tourists. Now, West African has much more tourists than South Africa.
Would they wear this there? They don't wear this, do they?
Some wear it, but they wear it for our benefit. Among the elite, the chief and the royal class, they wear this, but the working folks generally do not wear Kente cloth every day.
But they design it, and the upper class wear this.
Yes.
And so that's why the Westerners, when they want to get in touch with identify.
Yes, they wear Kente cloth.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be something.
Thinking that everybody wears it every day, but if you wore it every day, that would interfere with your work.
How do you keep it? How do you keep your things so that in such good order?
Well, I keep them
so that they're not torn. And
I keep them in tubs and wrapped in plastic and newspaper and bags.
When you do exhibits, do you let people handle them?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
You don't mind?
No, I don't mind at all because that's a large part of the exhibit.
Oh, it's to let them handle the stuff.
Just, I wanted to share.
Audience, we'll continue to talk with Dr. Robinson, Dr. Harold Robinson. He's visited Africa, lived in Africa, and doing Negro History Week, Black History Month. We share many of the things that relate to African heritage and to African culture. And so we have titled this program, Visits from the Motherland, as we share some of the things that he's experienced and some of the things that he's brought back to share with us.
Joyce, one of the things I did in South Africa is to develop a set of chronicles of my experiences in South Africa, both in English and in the native languages. This particular one is in Zulu and English.
Do you speak Zulu?
I have a working knowledge. On the inside cover is the English translation. And here we see the Zulu chief. He's the one with the stick in his hand. His name is Matasutu Budolezi. He's the ceremonial chief of the Zulu nation.
But when does he work if he's doing ceremonies?
His full-time job is Minister of Home Affairs. He's the one who would stamp passports and issue passports.
Who pays him?
He's paid by the government of South Africa. He has 2 earned master's degrees. He has an honorary degree from the University of California at Davis, I believe, and several other honorary degrees.
And still he has time to be a Zulu chief.
And, well, this is his night job.
Okay.
Now, I want to show you a picture of the Zulu chief and his day job. This is the, would you hold that, please? This is the same person. This is Chief Buthelezi in his day job. As you can see, he's quite distinguished.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. However,
He's not a part of the corruption, is he?
well, no, he's on the, politically, he's opposed to Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela represents the African National Congress, the ANC. And Mr. Buthelezi represents the IFP, the Ntaka Freedom Party, which they get their power and authority through a dynasty. So he's a direct descendant of Shaka Zulu. And Nelson Mandela pushed for democracy, and the democracy is...
For the people, of the people, and by the people.
Yes, which is would destroy the Zulu nation.
So he's threatened by it.
Well, they compromised. And that's
Now,
probably
now
why-
this on the picture here, you have Nelson Mandela also, and you have Winnie
Yes.
Mandela. Now she's no longer with him,
No, they separated, and that story's in the book.
and you wrote about the story.
I didn't write about it, but I collected the documentation on it.
Now you had this book published.
Yes. Now, I published this as part of my field work.
Now, when you teach at Shell, you're a professor at Shell University.
Yes.
You're in African American Studies.
Well, I taught African American studies in previous semesters, and I do mention South African history and the new South Africa.
Now, do you take groups of people over there and share?
No, I haven't organized any tours.
Is it very safe to be there? At some time it is.
At times it's safe. And it's safe in certain places, in the larger cities, meaning Johannesburg, Pretoria, Cape Town, and Durban.
Were you ever threatened for your life while you were there? You've been there 4 years.
No, not once. Even though the country is very volatile, and everyone in the country owns an AK-47.
Every household, you mean?
Every household.
Where did it? That's a very expensive rifle, isn't
Well,
it?
the weapons were supplied by the Soviet Union in anticipation of the war, the race war.
Maybe that's why they don't no longer exist. The
Well,
Soviet Union.
I mean, well, I don't know about that, but
but the weapons were supplied, but
yes.
for every household in South Africa.
Well,
That's a lot of weapons, isn't it?
Well, and there are plenty more out there. I mean, they're still there.
And no one has made an effort to collect these weapons.
No.
That's quite interesting.
This, if I may, this is the man who organized the ANC Army, Joe Slovo.
So I can see war and turmoil as a large part of their existence, their everyday life. It must be focused on that.
South Africa had been at war since apartheid in 1948, 49.
When are they going to stop? Is it going to ever go
Well,
on?
it has stopped. The country is officially at peace now that apartheid is ended. Now, there's still
that's a good thing.
warring faction. There are still gangs and roving ethnic groups who are having turf wars.
Okay, and this is
a who's who in South Africa.
that's a large country, though, isn't it?
It is. It's
When you think about who's who in South Africa, you think about who among millions of people, aren't you?
about several million. I won't guess how many offhand. But there are 52 countries in the continent, and South Africa is one of the largest. And in here,
So this is a
have-
book you wrote.
yes, and in here I have biographies of some of the leaders at that time, including Winnie Mandela.
She was one of the leaders at that time.
She was a leader of the ANC women.
Was she very effective in her
Very
leadership with
effective,
it?
very effective. She was effective in organizing the women and keeping them focused on the struggle.
This is a white man on the front, isn't it?
Yes.
He's a white African.
He's a white African, yes. Now that was difficult for me to understand at first, but the Africans the whites who were born in Africa considered themselves as African as anyone else. So the British were there first, and then the Afrikaners, which are the Boers, and you have other ethnic groups such as Pakistanians and Indians and coloreds. Now coloreds are mixed race people who generally live in Cape Town and Durban, and that was a result of a African mother and an Afrikaner father.
Audience, we'll continue to talk with Dr. Robinson as we talk about Africa, as we talk about the motherland, and during African American History Week, which it is this week, Black History Week, it is often called, and used to be called Negro History Week. We talk about some things and we focus on our pride, on where we come from, and so we have titled this program Visits from the Motherland. Dr. Robinson speaks almost every day to some group concerning his travels, which encompasses more than 30 years throughout the continent of Africa, where they have 52 nations. He has brought along some other things that I hope the camera will focus on as we talk about it. There's something significant about this tie that you brought, isn't it?
Yes, may I? This tie, if you can get a close-in shot, it has the symbol of the African National Congress, the ANC, and it also has the likeness of Nelson Mandela on the tie.
Who put that on there?
The ANC. I mean, this is what they would wear for their political rallies. And
With Nelson Mandela's picture on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, this is his political party, and it's also an army, because these are the people who fought actively against apartheid.
And they won.
Well, they won. Yes.
And then everybody benefited.
Everybody benefited from a free South Africa.
That's right. Every party, all of those, even the ones that were against him,
Yes.
still they benefited from
Exactly.
the gains that
Yes.
he
Yes.
stood behind and worked so long for.
Yes. Now, those who shed blood.
Did they give you all that? Did they give you that tie in there?
Actually, they gave it to me because I embraced the ANC because I lived in the midst of the African National Congress, and I had to leave my safe zone to visit the Zulu areas.
Now, you were a minister. You were bringing to the religion, African American religion, the Christianity to them.
Yes.
And you established some AME Zion churches over there, right?
Yes.
Did you run into any opposition because a lot of them believe in voodoo, don't they?
Not voodoo. We refer to it as traditional religions, and what used to be referred to as witch doctors, they're called traditional healers. In the picture that we weren't able to copy, that was inside the traditional healer's crawl, inside of his place of business, and they practice root working, as we know it, because they actually use roots for healing. Hence the term root working.
And so they're still doing that, and that's legal within where they are.
Yes, they do it sometimes.
That's a part of religion too, because
Well, it's traditional religion, yes. Now, even though many of them are Christians, Presbyterians, Lutherans,
And
Anglicans, Catholics, etc., and Methodists, they still practice traditional religions.
so they have not over all of these years. Nelson Mandela was in jail for 20 years, wasn't he?
20 plus, 27.
27 years.
Yes.
And all of that time, they never got away from. They never changed their ways. They never even the enculturation of Westerners did not change them.
They live in two worlds. If you look at it this way, Joyce, on the surface, they wear suits and ties, and they go to universities all over the world. They speak English, plus their native languages. At the same time, they eat traditional foods. They live in traditional housing patterns.
So this is
The report
Desmond
on the
Tutu.
Desmond Tutu, the report on the Truth Commission.
you wrote this too,
Yes.
and you presented it to?
I presented it to the church as a chronicle of what was going on with the Truth Commission.
Now, how many of them, with all these different religions, but you were able to convert some people to Christianity, right?
I was, yes.
And you brought them to Christ.
But they were not unfamiliar with Christianity. The AME Church had been in South Africa for 100 years, primarily in Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg. So they knew about Christianity, they knew about the Methodist Church, but they did not know about the AME Zion Church.
And so you established some AME Zion churches over
Yes.
there. Now you have a little drum up there. Is that drum significant for any reason?
Yes.
Is that a real drum?
It's a miniature drum, a Zulu drum. And what's unique about it, it's made from goat skins. And it's part of the ritual when the Zulus dance and celebrate, they use the drums. And this is a replica of a typical Zulu drum. And it's worn around the neck like this. And they beat it with a stick.
Okay. Does the drum, are they talking, when they beat it, are they giving a signal? Are they singing a song? Is there a message that they're trying to get to another tribe?
I didn't see any evidence of that. And
Or they're just playing?
They
They're
play
just
it
beating
for
for
music
fun.
and celebration. Yeah. Now I understand that during the colonial period, that the drum was a talking drum, that you could send messages by drum.
That's the same thing during the slavery
Yes,
period.
yes, exactly.
Period of slavery.
Yes,
You sent
yes.
messages by drums.
That's exactly right. Now what I have here is a set of traditional weapons used by the Zulus. This shield, again covered with goat skin, is the same shield that Shaka Zulu used in the 1850s and passed down to other generations. And in the little book here on the Zulu culture, you'll find the same type weaponry. These are traditional weapons, the same weapons that Mr. Buthelezi had in the picture.
Now, what would you use a weapon like this? Is not to hurt a human being, would you?
Oh yes, Joyce, that's what they.
This is for an animal when it's animal hunting, isn't it?
Well, sometimes for animals, sometimes for people. That tribal wars still exists, and some use traditional weapons and some use AK-47s.
It seems like the Zulu is the most vicious tribe.
Well, I wouldn't say vicious.
The most skillful.
Well, they're skillful warriors. See, they're trained warriors, and they have a history of fighting wars against the British and the Boers, the Afrikaners.
And that's passed down through the years.
Yes.
Over 100 years, they're still doing the same thing.
Well, they still fight wars. Yeah.
Even though much civilization is there now, they're more civilized than ever.
Yes, that's true.
But they still fight
Now,
over this.
well, the chief is really his lifestyle is representative of the New Zulu. Many of them still go to school, and they learn Western ways, but they still embrace traditional culture.
Are they educated in Africa? All of them go to England or come to the United States or someplace?
Most of them are educated in Africa. Africa has several universities.
So they
some
no
are all
longer
black and some are integrated.
So no longer do they have to come to the United States or go to England or France to be educated.
Only during apartheid, the ANC leaders went to the Soviet bloc countries for training. They went to Leiden University, University of Moscow, East Germany.
Did they speak that language?
Yes. So
They could speak Russian to be educated at a
yes,
Russian.
I mean, they learned it somewhere along the way, but it wasn't uncommon to find most Africans are trilingual. They know English, their native language, plus another European language, French, German, or etc.
Now you have one more thing before our time. The camera will get that. You don't have to get up.
Okay. All right.
He can pick it up with him.
Well, let me share the doll.
Okay.
Again, this is a representation of a Zulu woman clad in goat skin, and she's carrying her baby on her back.
Did she make this? Did the Zulu lady make this?
No, she didn't make that, but I bought that somewhere along the line of my travels in Africa.
And she wouldn't be upset with.
No, she wouldn't be upset with you handling that.
Okay.
But that's typical of the way that African women carry their babies, both among the Zulus and other ethnic groups.
And it's typical. She has a skirt here that's made of animal skin.
Only among the Zulus.
The Zulu must be a very powerful group of people.
They are. They're the most powerful group, and they're the ones who embrace traditional culture.
They must be very rich. They must have all the money, too.
Well, ironically, Joyce, the gold mines and the diamond mines are mostly in the Zulu areas.
Oh, okay.
But they don't benefit from it.
But they work there.
They work there, and they die there. But the white South Africans benefited from the gold mines, De Beers and such families of that. Cecil Rhodes and Rhodes Scholar.
It's a long tradition that isn't that we over our lifetime will not be able to infiltrate in to gain control of.
No, I don't think we will.
So this is. Do you ever see this in the United States?
No.
But this a baby on her back.
Yeah.
That's she can't tell. The baby could be
Well,
hollered.
I think you'll find that among Native Americans also had a similar practice of putting the babies on their backs.
The baby could be hollering. She wouldn't know it because it's right.
She would know it. I mean, they have ways of knowing.
Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Joyce, for
and audience want to thank you for being with us too on Views with Joyce Waddell. And hopefully you'll come back again and share some additional things. Maybe I'll come to one of your lectures and I can do a taping of that.